welcome to Fake Deep Thinking, just a group of guys talking about a bunch of bullshit. Today we have with us John, Doc,
Yo,
and myself, Eugene. All right, so I just want to jump into the Grammys that happened this weekend. And for me, there's two things I want to talk about. And we're just going to start with the Lil Baby one because we were kind of got into a little bit of a discussion before that started. We decided to pause discussion, like, let's just start the podcast. So we just watched the performance by Lil Baby real quick to refresh our memory. And my issue is I didn't like the depiction of the Rayshard Brooks shooting. And then I didn't like the little, what would that, the speech that girl, whatever her name is, gave or whatever that was. I just feel like it bothers me because, like I said beforehand, I do believe, and I said this several times on the podcast, we need police reform. But if we're going to have this conversation, we need to have it properly and not dilute it with our how do I say this?
Politics.
Sure, yeah.
It's politics. Yeah, I agree. I don't like the fact that she said Biden. She referenced Biden's name in justice directly.
Well, she was asking Biden, you need justice.
Was she asking Biden?
Yeah,
or she said Biden will demand justice.
I think it was a call to Biden.
Okay, I hope so because I didn't like that part at all. Honestly speaking, as far as when it comes to the depiction of the Rayshard Brooks thing, I don't. It doesn't bother me as much because I'm black, to be honest with you, and I'm not saying that to be racist or anything, but just because I'm more familiar, I guess. I would have more empathy.
You've had personal experience with police,
and
I've been there with you when it happened.
So
it's a thing. I'm not going to deny that it's a thing.
But this is my thing. So when we start talking about the depiction of it and how it's being used, I understand that. Especially when you're talking about as far as like news outlets and everybody, if you're putting misinformation out, it's cool. But we're talking about art now, and his artistic interpretation or whatever you want to call it, of even if it's not Lil Baby's, if it's the set designer or whatever. And I have to play devil's advocate because nobody will. But
that's what makes conversations fun.
Yeah, it's art. So whether it didn't get into the nuances of the Rayshard Brooks situation enough, maybe the Wendy's was symbolic for you to just think about that case. So it's not that we have to show you the specifics of what the case is. We're just showing you this is an example of what we're talking about as far as the song is. Remember, it's a 4 or 5 minute performance.
Then is this wrong of me? I said this beforehand, but is this wrong of me to say then that I feel like I agree that if there's a message they want to get through, I feel like using the Rayshard Brooks incident was the bad incident to use.
I actually agree with that.
I agree it was a bad incident to use too.
Because, okay, so like,
I don't care.
I get the whole like, obviously, black men are at the disadvantage of being pulled over by the cops and stuff like that. And that's hard because if you correlate this to Rayshard Brooks didn't reach for the taser, and that's a
he did shoot
deal
the officer
in the situation.
with the taser.
Oh, the taser hit the officer?
He shot the officer with the taser.
Oh, okay.
So that's like a big deal in that case. It's just, I don't know. You have to see, like, if your mind goes there, then yeah.
Does it say
serious.
Wendy's
like,
there?
The situation is completely different.
Oh, I don't think it says Wendy's because it'd be product placement, but it looks like a Wendy's building. Like that is.
It actually does because it's like a drive-through. Yeah, like there's a car parked to go up to a window. So I guess it is implying that that's the Rayshard Brooks case.
It's heavily implying it.
I agree.
That's a straight up Wendy's without the logo.
I agree. I just. Okay, for example, we're talking about the interpretation instead of police brutality or whatever the fuck, or the police reform or whatever the fuck we're supposed to be talking about.
But that's my point.
That's my whole point.
No, I agree with you. And maybe I'm giving the energy to the wrong conversation. But the reason why, like I said, it bothers me is because if you want to have this conversation, at least depict it properly and accurately. Because the problem is people are going to look at this, and I'm obviously one of those guys, and I'll take the flack for it, is there were several incidents they just glossed over because they wanted to paint the image simply as a black man asleep in his car, got pulled out, and got harassed by officers to the point where he fled and got shot. No, there's more to it than just that.
Oh, and then I'm still not trying to
I'm
you know where I stand with the Rayshard Brooks. Like it looked like he turned his taser. You know what I think. But I will say this: there's no excuse for anything. Every case is a single case incident. But it's hard for somebody to tell you to look at the nuances of certain cases when certain things have been happening for so long. So it's now we're ready to talk. So now it's like, okay, we're ready to talk. We're ready to have the conversation. That's not exactly how that happened. That's not exactly how that happened. But people really just at this point they're tired. They just care about the conclusion. The conclusion was he died, and so they just didn't want him to die. Like it sounds dumb. It sounds. I know there's a lack of actual thought process, but there's a lack of thought process in how these people have been handled for so long. So now we're arriving to a place where we finally want to, I guess, address the subject that matter, and we're kind of like it's almost like talking
Hold
to
on.
a victim
Let me-
of a
let me-
crime.
let me address that,
but it's
though.
but it's like talking to a victim of a crime right after the crime, but expecting them to be calm. No. Tell me
That's what a
exactly
case
what
is,
happened.
though.
Tell me exactly.
What you say, Doc?
I said that's what like a case is though. Like when it happens to a jury, it's after the crime. They kind of talk about it and they break it down and
No.
they try to figure it out logically.
I'm talking about as far as handling the sentiment of like the general topic we're actually talking about is people not looking into the nuances of these cases and just assuming I guess racism or police brutality based on a black person being shot by a police officer, a white police officer, or whatever it may be. And I'm saying the reason that people aren't looking at the nuances of the cases anymore is because it's happened for so long without it being addressed. And so these people that aren't looking at the nuances, these are I'm not excusing anything because they should look at it, but I'm explaining it because they feel it may not be warranted, but they feel mentally distressed they're not looking at the details because they don't care anymore.
Okay,
Because when the details cared, when
I don't
it mattered,
disagree with that. I
nobody
guess
cared.
my issue is the energy of an expedited, I guess, trial or solution to this problem.
Oh, it's impossible.
Exactly. That's where I'm coming from. Is first off, I want to have this conversation, and I've said this several times before, but I don't feel like we're having the appropriate conversation to get to a proper solution. And second off, it seems like people want an expedited solution without it being a proper solution. And honestly, those are my two biggest problems with this whole thing.
They want to justify their emotions.
Exactly. That's my biggest problem with this.
100%. I 100% agree with you. And I'm saying that it was created.
And that also bothers me. You even said, like you said earlier, this is art, and that this would have been a good segue into the other topic I want to talk about. But it's manipulation, deceit, because they're altering the events to suit their artistic medium to
It's
get
art.
a message across.
That's art.
But the problem is they're doing that with something controversial and, like we said, too political.
It's also art.
I don't know if I like that.
That's art. Like, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but literally what you're defining controversy and all that stuff, like
But that's not
my
all-
depiction of it, like if I present
Then I guess
the
I'm
form
tired because I feel like I've been
but that's what I'm saying.
spoon-fed this stuff.
But I'm saying before we can get to I don't want to say before we can get there, but we need to address news. We need to address media. I'm not saying you don't address it, but we need to address actual media sources that are informed information. My
problem is the media players aren't
exactly,
giving us
but my
information.
problem, I guess not my irritate, but my problem, I guess, with when we broach this conversation is there are so many media outlets and things you should go to before we arrive at Little Baby's performance at the Grammys. And so, as far as
Well, I've
getting
already gone
information,
through those.
No,
That's
I'm
why-
not saying you. I'm just saying
People.
and the conversation in general. So whereas there may be a
There's
group
a
of
lot
people,
to go through to have
there-
the conversation.
but there's a group of people who will watch the performance, be upset by it, be incensed by it, but also not want to hold their news network accountable. That's my problem.
I agree
and so
completely.
you only start seeing
Yeah.
the inconsistencies
Yeah.
when you're not there. When you're not part of the inconsistencies or you don't have no relation to the inconsistencies. So now everybody can all of a sudden point out the inconsistencies in Black Lives Matter. Everybody can point out the inconsistencies in the LGBTQ community. Everybody can point out inconsistencies in these communities because they don't have any part to do with them. So it's just pure logic. But they don't care. He don't care. He doesn't care. As far as he's concerned, that's what happened to Rayshon Brooks. He doesn't care. He just knows the guy shouldn't have been shot, and he was shot. That's how he feels. That's why he didn't even write the song for him. He didn't even mention him in that song.
Well, no, I think it's what you said. He didn't even probably
He didn't put it together.
direct.
No,
that
not at all.
performance. It was probably some other producer that he
And
hired.
then the song
or-
is actually critical of black people too.
No, yeah, I even said this. Like, the song's fine. I got nothing issue with the song. The song was a good song. I just, like I said, the beginning of it, the inaccurate depiction of the Rayshard Brooks incident,
then
and
this
then the
lady.
little speech thing that lady gave.
That was weird.
She's apparently.
I think if they would have gone with like the Breonna Taylor case, it would have been like, yeah,
That would have been
like
hard to show.
that and or even George Floyd, but like I mean they were just like, what can we do that's really fast? But
And I feel like George Floyd. This is where
I would agree, but I agree with
George
Doc, though.
Floyd's
George Floyd would have
overused.
been better. It is overused.
That's why they didn't use it. I'm being honest with you. They were like, let's use George Floyd. Nah, he's played out. I'm dead ass honest with you.
Is that wrong to say?
That's the conclusion they came to. They didn't say it probably
Is
like
that wrong?
but George Floyd is played out. They've milked it.
I kind of wish they would have had though, because it would have
that was
led
a
better.
genuine
But
issue
that was
for 9. How long was it? 9
8
something minutes.
8 minutes 15 seconds.
40 something.
8 something.
Dude, I understand he was trained, but dude, for 8, come on, dog. You had a level of what's discernment, man.
And it also, like, I guess I'm not trying to talk about it too much, but it's revealing that it took such a crass, like such an egregious act for the awareness. Like, we're overcorrecting, we're overcompensating now. So like, but it's weird that it took that though. Like that was the trigger. Like I got to stand on this for this shit to pop off. I got to stand on this nigga's neck for 8 minutes. That's when we gonna start talking about got some real change. It's not the protest. It's the nigga that was on his neck that started the change.
I would disagree. I think it's a combination of the knee on the neck and then the protest that ensued.
No, I'm talking about literally. Like, the protest don't happen without the knee.
And that's why the conversation's annoying, because you got people focusing on the inaccuracies of the depictions of the police shootings and then people focusing on the reaction, which are the riots. It's
Who's
like
wrong?
Actually,
Now
it was
what's
a
wrong?
slow build, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, every 4 years of my life, I've seen a black man killed publicly on television by cops, and eventually, like, I mean, what was that guy who just got shot? We had a podcast about him. He got shot while going through houses just before George Floyd. Yeah, and then all of a sudden that happened, and I was just like, oh shit, like, dude, it had all been building up, and everyone was at home, and everyone was able to see it all at once. Everyone just kind of said, no, man, like that's why I actually think in the video, if they wanted to be a little bit more positive, I guess is the word to use, maybe. But yeah, the George Floyd incident leading into the woman like giving the speech and stuff like that, like the positivity that came out of those protests would have like been more sensible, because that was the message. I kind of understand Eugene's sentiment where like the message gets a little blurred when you see Rashard Brooks, and it's like, no, dude, that guy actually like he tried to fight the cops in some sense before, you know, being shot to death, and then leading into the rest of it. I personally don't like the ending, just because it confuses me in a sense. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old and kind of more conscientious, but like at the end, it kind of promotes revolution. Like, that's the whole idea of him standing on the car, standing in front of the fire and stuff like that. Like, that's the concept of revolution.
But what was the revolutionary part? I don't think in my opinion, it was.
He's reenacting the image of the guy on fire in front of the police station when it was burning.
Yeah.
So like that's revolution, and essentially like when you see it in another country, when it happens, when people stand in front of fires like that and with their fists up and stuff like that, just because it's not happened here a lot, but in other countries, like that's
telltale sign.
It's a seed of revolution. So you have to kind of think about that. And now that it's actually real in front of me, like, it's cool. I've listened to Rage Against the Machine. I've actually been like jamming and be like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. But now it's actually possible in front of me. I'm actually taking it seriously, so I'm having to think about it. Like,
and
in some sense, when you look reaction from both of y'all.
To piggyback off Doc though, because part of me like, I'm okay with the energy, because like I said before, I'm okay with police reform, and because I do believe our elected officials are on both sides are corrupt to a fault. I do believe we need some kind of, I'm reluctant to say revolution, but at least some kind of constitutional convention. Let's come together and figure some stuff out. So I'm like that revolution energy, I'm okay with if we can properly maintain and harness it without it getting out of hand. And the problem is we're not doing that. And I don't know if you agree with this, Doc. I'm fearful of that energy getting out of hand and leading somewhere we don't want it to go.
That's actually what I'm thinking about too.
Are you talking about in general or based off this video? Are we still talking about the video?
No, the video, the sentiment,
well,
I'm doing idea,
it overall.
Okay.
Because like to me, the video and the fact that it's broadcasted to the entire country, like, if you watch the video, it vilifies police throughout.
Yes.
So, cops are bad, right off the bat. Cops are bad. And
Okay.
Like if
They did,
like
come
it
on.
makes
No,
it
I'm
makes the
saying you could say
conversation
that, but
harder
you could
to
also
happen.
say that it vilifies cops to black people because they didn't harm anybody else in the video.
But there's no one
Well,
else in the
what
video
about the
besides-
white
black
supporters of the
people.
black people?
So
like,
he's saying
there's tons of people supporting that, and so vilifying them completely automatically gives a target to everybody. So it makes the conversation harder to be had, and that's
My
the kind of
issue.
thing I have to
I
think
just don't
about. Where it's just like,
agree.
whoa, and
I
it's like
just
there's
don't
also black
agree.
cops, like you know what I mean, like all the
Yes.
cops in that video are white. And so it didn't show like a racial interaction between a black
Okay.
cop and a black man and stuff like that.
This is my problem. This is my problem. You guys are asking for all of this nuance in one. Not you're talking about general, but all of this nuance in the one video, right? But there is none of this nuance in history as far as describe. And it's not a envious. It's not a spite. It's not revenge. It's none of those emotions. But when you have like the stereotypical black character in all the shows, or the stereotypical this, the stereotypical that, the generalization of anything, this, that, and the other thing, like there has never really been a backlash for it, or until now, I guess. So now, like a generalized
to
cop,
this degree.
yeah, but now a generalized cop. Now we should be sensitive of generalizing cops. Like I can't.
Well, the only reason why I'll agree to that, I do agree to that point now, the whole part we got to be careful about generalizing cops in negative light, is because crime rate is on the increase. Deaths are on the rise. And that is because of, like you said before, the overcorrection.
Mhm.
We've overcorrected to the point where we defunded our police. We abolished police. Where we had a, what was the term?
Defund?
The blue wave, where a bunch of cops just quit in masses.
Mhm.
And now I think as Minneapolis, they have a rise in crime issue, and they're actually now trying to increase funding to get more cops to come back.
As they should.
That's why it's like we got to be careful with this discussion, because
But
if we
weren't careful to what led us here. That's my
when are we going to be careful then?
That's my. But that's what I'm saying. You're putting it on the black people to
We
be
got to.
careful.
I'm putting on everybody.
No. I'm talking
in
about
this
in this
particular
video.
instant, you're
That's
right.
I'm
I
talking
agree
about
with
this
you.
specific example. I'm not talking about any. I know where you stand everywhere else. I'm talking about this specific example and us being this critical of this video. 1 and 2, the video and the song, they don't even sound like they go together. Honestly speaking, they do not, because what he's depicting in the song, and it's not the person and they're just not the same. Okay, as far as the revolution, why is it okay for everybody else to be revolutionary, and then now it's a problem for people to be revolutionary? All of our revolutions have been
because you
violent.
have to fight.
But all of our revolutions
Because you
have been
actually
violent.
will
They
have to
have
fight.
been, and we got here because of violence. So what's the problem?
I'm just saying
If I'm gonna
the
fight,
reason
I at least want to make sure the cause I'm fighting for is
yeah,
something
I'm exactly
worthy
with
and
Gene.
accurate.
Like
But
if
that's
I'm gonna
fine.
fight, if I'm gonna do something like that, I'm gonna make sure
That's
I'm doing it for
fine.
the right reason, and I'm
But-
not gonna hesitate when I do it.
That's
So
also
it's just
fine.
like-
But we can't. But we're talking about a music video now. So we're applying all of these concepts to
Well, I
just
try to
this
take it
one
out
video,
here, but
and that's
but we're
my
keeping it here.
problem.
But yeah, I understand.
Because we're still just talking about the video as if it's that important. I just don't think it's that important. As far as swaying minds, public opinion, this and that.
Well, I'm not trying to give
I
too
don't
much
think
weight
it's-
to the video itself.
That's what I'm saying. And so you shouldn't be fearful. You shouldn't be like, there are other things to be fearful of before the Little Baby revolutionary video, is my point.
I'm not fearful of it. I understand why you would say that. It's more of an annoyance, because who is the, or guys, more of a question I really don't know. What's the target audience, the age,
I don't know. It was the Grammys.
demographic that watches the Grammys?
Old white people. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's how I feel about it.
I don't.
That's
I
what
think
it
that-
is, yeah.
I disagree with you. I think it used to be old white people. I think now it's a lot of young kids watching the Grammys. Because who is in it? Little Baby, Cardi B.
And
You
let
think
me tell-
old white people
And let me
are
tell you
watching the
something.
Grammys
Let me
now?
tell you something. No black people still watch the Grammys.
I don't
You get what
know.
I'm
That's
saying?
a question.
Like,
Who?
black people
What's
have
the
never
demographic
watched
and
the
the age
Grammys.
demographic that watch the Grammys?
We've
Because my
never watched
issue
the
is
Grammys.
the audience that watched it. Because this is my cynicism. I'll reveal a little
It's
bit.
white
I
men who
don't
did
think-
it to themselves. It's white people who did it to Gene. The people who
Then
put this
that's
video
even
together
more of an
are
issue,
white. I'm
I
not even
think.
gonna lie
And
to you.
that would bother me even
And
more,
if the
honestly.
director isn't white, the person who picked the director is white. And the reason why they did it is because it was a business move.
Why do we
They were
got
trying
white
to
people
pander.
depicting
They
black
were
people's
trying-
strife? Isn't that isn't
Why
that
we
an issue
got
in
white
itself?
people voting on the hip hop award for the year? Huh?
I agree. Yeah. What the
So
fuck?
that's what I'm saying here. So like us being critical of this video on the Grammys, we I'll put it like this. I'm only gonna say this once and one time alone.
All right, let's move on.
Macklemore won the Grammy over Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City. That was the album talking about thrift shopping. That's why I said I just can't, like, my irritation is us being this critical of something that I don't believe in as far as the Grammys. Like,
but
they don't
I
have
actually
any
feel
standing.
like Kendrick's album is something that he would want us to dissect the way we're dissecting this right now.
No, I agree with that. I'm saying he lost to Macklemore. Macklemore's album was about thrifting, and the Grammys
supposed to be about content.
Decided to give him the Grammy over Kendrick. The same Grammys who put this performance out. That's what I'm saying. They have no credibility.
So, yeah, I guess that makes some sense to a large extent. It's just completely shallow, and so maybe the video that was shown was shallow to an extent, and that's why we're interpreting the way we are.
Exactly.
But I kind of go back into my argument where it's just like, yeah, I do side a bit with Gene on the nuances of it. If it is shallow, then I at least want to interpret it and be like, okay, yeah, this thing's just shallow. Cool. I'm just going to take it for what it is and just be like, it was just primetime television.
Exactly.
But I agree with you. It probably is shallow, and I don't dispute that. It just goes back to I say this all the time. I just really don't like when people use things to manipulate, deceive. I just don't like that, and that's how I viewed that. And that's why my question is still
television anymore. We can't listen.
No, it's not about television.
That's how it is, though. Every show has a goddamn underlying.
Yeah, I guess that's my biggest gripe. Is it's hard to enjoy entertainment now because it's fueled with propaganda. Exactly, it's not anymore.
Entertainment.
I think it's always been though, man. I think you're just kind of stumbling into it now.
So I've just been naive. I've just been naive.
I actually think you're starting to see art critically, and you're just kind of being like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" Because it's always like, dude, I've taken classes on this and stuff like that. I literally took an entire semester on Chaucer, on how one fucking book, The Canterbury Tales, was literally what's the word I'm looking for? It was he was basically interpreting like the king and how we could talk to the politics at that time. And the entire novel was literally him just being like, "Hey, this is what you should do, but I don't want to get my fucking head cut off, so I'm gonna tell it through this story of this character. Here you go." And like, you just got to think critically about a lot of that stuff. It does get annoying, but after a while, you also got to start putting up your blinders and be like, what do I want to let in and what do I don't want to let in?
They should teach a class on 90s cartoons and how much shit they snuck past us.
That'd be interesting.
Them shits was so sexual. Those cartoons had Smart Guy, even the real shows. His brothers were constantly trying to fuck something.
They were.
And they would fuck something, and they would dance after they fucked something. Like,
dude, Smart Guy.
Dude. His brother was getting pussy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, that's a nice segue into the second aspect of the Grammys, which was Cardi B's performance.
Getting pussy. Wow. I didn't see it.
It's
I don't watch the Grammys.
It's a Cardi. I mean, to be completely fair, I didn't watch the Grammys either. I just saw the clips. I saw the clip of Lil Baby's performance, and I saw the clip of Cardi B's performance.
How did you stumble upon the clips, Gene?
Twitter.
I'm on Twitter. Yeah.
Well, that's your first problem. Your second problem.
That's the first problem, right there.
What was?
Because I don't watch. I'm with John. I don't watch this stuff. But then when I watch,
I didn't either.
Like,
what was the sentiment? Like, what was the theme of people's reactions to these things when you found them?
And I read the comments because I didn't read I try not to read the people's when they quote tweet it what they say because it's like, it's your opinion, cool. Let me watch it first. Then when I watch it or read it, then it's like, all right, let me see what people are saying. And I mean, the comments were all like, this is basically porn, or two, we're banning Dr. Seuss books, but letting this on TV. It's like
that's the point that I wanted to
know. No, I completely agree. Yeah, and that's the one. That's the reason why I brought this up, because we went on a huge snake eating itself about Dr. Seuss, Mr. Potato. What was the other one? The Woman X. Like all that stuff. And yet we're canceling all that stuff, but we're allowing Cardi B to do. I don't want to be extreme with my verbiage.
I don't have no problem with what Cardi B did. I have a problem with them canceling Dr. Seuss. You get what I'm saying? Of the seesaw.
It's just not balanced.
I don't
not
get
consistent. That's my issue, and it'll consistently be my issues. I don't like the inconsistencies when it comes to all this stuff.
But one makes it consistent.
No,
so if we still got our Dr. Seuss books, Cardi B can pop that thing.
Okay.
Just fucking give in, man. Let the hedonism flow over you.
No, but John's right. He's got a point. If we weren't trying to cancel or ban all this random stuff, then it's like we wouldn't be fueling the other side
the anti,
of exactly.
100%.
I agree with that.
100%.
I agree
Give
with
us
that.
our Dr. Seuss books back, and then we can go back to popping pussy. Like, what's the problem?
I personally on a different
That could be a
I just
fucking
don't.
Dr.
I just
Seuss
don't like
book.
on national television. She be doing
Who
stuff like
hears
that.
the Fetty? Who hears
who
the
pops
Fetty
the
Wap?
pussy?
Like Horton hears the Fetty Wap. Like there you go. It's a fucking book, bro.
Horton pops the pussy.
Oh my god. Damn, Josh, you should write your own Dr. Seuss books, bro.
Green Bill's going ham.
I don't know. I
mean, we got a genderless potato, so
I
we're
just
on
think
the right path.
it's just.
Well, what was the just to like skid over it if we do. What was the sentiment behind the Lil Baby video?
I haven't.
The sentiment behind Little Baby video.
I haven't
At least
seen
on
people
Twitter
reposting
from the
it.
comments that you read.
I also haven't been on Twitter.
And it was mixed, obviously. Some people thought it was, good performance, like, yeah, it's like I said earlier, ACAB,
What does that mean?
And then all cops are bastards.
All cops are bastards?
Yeah.
I think that's. I mean,
that branding doesn't sound black.
We literally just said it here.
I have
so
so many problems with all the branding on these things.
It's annoying.
It doesn't sound. All cops are bastards.
I agree. Yeah.
You think? Hey,
I agree.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Black people use the B word. It's not bastards.
Yeah, we can go back to our show and look at all the B's you
we
use.
don't use bastards.
No, but like I said earlier, though, it's. I want to find a better way to word this because I don't like the way I word this. But it's am I the only thing that's annoying that white people are trying to speak for black people's plight?
You asking me?
No, it's a general question. It's a general question.
You guys said that shit like he had that shit in his back pocket. He's like, "Are you asking me?"
Caucasian ass people trying to say the struggles black people have. It's like, but you're not black. How am I supposed to take you seriously? I actually am very close friends with a black person who I've been in situations where they've dealt with shit like that. Who are you?
Dude. Yes. I talk about this shit
and
all the fucking time.
That's one of my core issues with this.
My core issue is how okay, for example, if Lil Baby was gay,
now you got me.
Now you got me.
We pulled back
now
to
you
this.
got me. If Lil Baby was gay, right? And it was about not shooting gay people, right? We would be all clapping. And anybody who said anything critical about it would be wrong. Right? But now there's a growing sentiment, at least when it comes to race, that race isn't the biggest problem. Okay? But if it was a gay person who did that video, right, we would have changed laws the next day. He would get a Grammy that didn't exist. They would have made a Grammy on the spot and said, here, you, gay man, you get this Grammy. Why? Because anytime there's an actual problem in the black community, another community gets the goddamn skirt right in front of it and say, hey, y'all see what happened to them niggas?
Well, look what happened to us.
We don't want, this is close, and it's too close for us. We got to stop this shit before it get that bad.
I agree with that, yeah.
And then they get their problems fixed, and they be like, yeah. And the niggas be like, oh, word? Okay, cool. We'll see you around. That's it. It's annoying to me, so I just.
Yeah, completely agree. It's
very annoying. Everybody.
It just goes back to sentiment. Like,
everybody
we're not
wants
having the proper conversations and not, I don't know, man.
Do you know the most referenced thing to be is a slave?
I think it's because it's the most insulting thing to an American.
That's interesting, actually.
The whole freedom thing, as much as we shout liberty from the tops of the rooftops, as soon as somebody calls you a slave, it's just like they just kicked in the core of like your person. And you're just
like,
what?
Can't hear me, but I'm sipping tea. Absolutely, Doc. Absolutely.
I honestly think that's why, like, there's so much guilt towards the black community, where it's just like, damn.
Towards or within? I'm confused.
I don't know if it's actually exists within okay. But I would say like towards them. Like
y'all can't see, but I'm doing quotation.
Okay.
Yeah, like I honestly don't know how. I would assume the black community didn't appreciate it and they're upset about it. Obviously, it's just like
nah, y'all good. Yeah, there's no way. We forgot all about it.
So that's why. Yeah, but like I think that's why like white people. Maybe that's why they side up so much and they try to interpret what black people do before actually taking in their thoughts into account. You know what I mean?
Also, I mean, if we look in history, they think they're used to thinking for us. which would speak to who's the actual most racist person in the situation.
I think
we're bringing, because I'll put it like this: the ones who there's bullshit and then there's real shit, right?
Yeah.
There are people who are like, we're going to Africa and we're gonna get fucking slaves and we're gonna get this free fucking labor, and there are people who are like, they need Jesus. I need to bring them Jesus, right? I prefer the nigga who came and was like, hey, y'all gonna get on these boats, y'all gonna be hard work. Not a nigga who got on the boat and said, I'm taking you to the Lord and Savior. And then I saw a cotton field. Like, that's just my opinion on that.
I'm gonna give you a new
name. That's how they got some of the slaves? They deceived them with God?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that's the... No, I'm saying they deceived themselves. That's how sick people are, Gene.
No, yeah, you're not...
They deceived themselves with Jesus.
Okay. No, yeah.
Jesus sent me to save these monkeys.
By enslaving them.
By enslaving them and teaching them Jesus.
That's some twisted logic.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, that's what happened to my people. So, they got wiped out.
I say it right. I say it right. As an African God-fearing man. It didn't work. Oh, right. Man.
I guess I wish I had something that was political, but I guess this turns us to a different topic is... So the Washington Post recently came out with a correction, and right here the headline, Washington Post media critic reports on what led to major correction following Trump Georgia election story. So pretty much misreporting the words of the highest elected official in the land is a serious lapse, Eric Wimple wrote. And then I'm going to read a couple paragraphs, and then we'll have a discussion about it. So the Washington Post media critic wrote a piece on Tuesday looking into what led to the paper's major correction on its bombshell report from January about a phone call between the then President Trump and Georgia election investigator Francis Watson. The Post initially reported Trump had told an official working in Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office to find the fraud in the state, which he lost narrowly to Joe Biden, and that she would be a national hero if she did. However, a newly emerged recording of the December 23rd call found he did not use those words. Instead, Trump said she would be praised when the right answers comes out and encouraged her to closely examine mail-in ballots in the Fulton County, the heavily blue and mostly populated state or county in the state. So it's just the reason why I want to bring this up, because like I said beforehand or previously in this podcast, was I just don't like this very clear, purposeful misinformation to further a particular agenda and narrative. Like, I just don't like it. And this is bad. The Washington Post did this. And the issue, and I don't know if they address it further in here. I don't think they do. They had a source, an anonymous source, tell the person that about this phone call. They didn't actually hear the phone call. This anonymous source told them about what they heard in the phone call. Washington Post then wrote the article about it, and then other news networks cited the Washington Post to then parrot this, and that's how it got out of hand. They didn't even properly use sites, resources, and cite and all the whatever they're supposed to learn in freaking journalist school to do this. And now we're finding out 2 months later, 3, that's not actually what was said. We're actually misquoted him and like completely wrong. That's just, I don't know. This bothers me personally to no end.
I think this is a sin of the information age, man, because I honestly do this all the time. I'll read a headline and be like, oh, that's fucked up. And then I'll just won't even click the button. Because I know it's clickbait. I know it's like supposed to get to me. And so I play this game where I'm like, you're not going to get me.
You're not going to get me, exactly.
But I know what you said. And then I keep going about my day. And then like something says to me like, dude, did you hear the fucking X place got bombed? And they're just like, what? And I was like, dude, bombed with fucking like roses. And I was like, oh, I didn't actually read it, my bad. So like that shit happens all the time, dude. And it's kind of fucked up that you're right. It is happening at a journalistic level for a national media source.
What's the purpose in calling it journalism?
Yeah, because I don't.
You're right. It's not even journalism at this point. Yeah.
And it's wild. 'Cause I do the same thing that Doc does. I'll see the thing, and if it's something I actually want to learn about,
I'll read it.
And
look more into it.
If it's not, I'll just know the topic. And if somebody brings it up, I'll be able to ask questions or at least listen.
Well, I saw this headline. Yeah. Like, tell me about it if you know something. And
other than that, I refuse. And for somebody whose job it is, they get paid for this. I don't get paid to do what I'm doing, and I still read full articles if I'm gonna talk about it. Mm-hmm. You're writing about it, and you didn't even make sure that you heard it from you didn't even hear from a primary source. There's no primary source in this at all.
It's an anonymous source.
An anonymous source was somebody who overheard something.
Supposedly overheard something.
You think the guy got fired?
No, I don't. And that's honestly, I think, an issue.
Another
These journalists
problem.
aren't being held accountable for the stuff like this. We don't have news in America anymore. We have propaganda, like you said, propaganda machines.
100%.
Like, where do you go to get proper news now?
Honestly, this is something I was thinking about the other day because I was talking to my coworker. My coworker lives overseas, and he's just like, "Well, I just watched CNN to see what's happening in the U.S." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Bro, like I don't even lean far right, and I'm still gonna tell you like you should probably tune out every now and then and just watch them. I don't know, just read something else."
Anyone who watches any kind of mainstream news solely as their news source, be it CNN or Fox News, I'm sorry, you're being manipulated with propaganda. You're being inundated with propaganda. Like, it's the mainstream news networks are not where you go to get news now. It's where you go to get confirmation bias.
100%. I goddamn.
You got to go to independent, or you got to start looking up on your own.
I think it's crazy though.
There's only people there on the ground floor, and so like, I'm really good about like if it's something like the attack or something like that, like the Capitol Hill. It's on somebody's Instagram. I'm just gonna go watch that video. That's it. Then I'll hear reporting on it.
I saw the video
from different sources, but
I know what happened. Yeah,
based off that video.
I've been arguing in my head a lot over this stuff because, so I work from home and I read all day. So to me, to find a news article, I'm just like, oh, dude, do I really have to fucking read this? But like, I want to stay informed of the world around me because I'm living in a box right now during the pandemic and stuff like that. And so I read it, but it does take a little bit of my like mental energy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Completely,
so
I understand that.
I've had days where I read just nothing but just like, you're gonna die tomorrow probably. You should probably. I'm just like, dude, fuck. Like I'm so spent. So that's why I hit this state where I just kind of start skimming over stuff. You know what I mean? Because there's just so much information all the time, and the U.S. especially our media is just it's a content generator. Like we're content generators. They are a content generator as well. They're just at a mass level. But the only thing is like they take their things seriously, or maybe they don't take things seriously, which is the problem. But like going through the content and just constantly consuming content and stuff like that, like, dude, it's exhausting. And I think as an American living in this age right now, I've kind of gotten to a point where it's just like, you know what, like Thoreau, who's like an old American romanticist, once said, like, you have to rely on yourself. Like, it's all about self-reliance. And to an extent, like people are like, oh, that's just, you know, toxic masculinity in some sense, because he kind of was just like a soloist in the middle of the woods. But
I think.
Yeah, like, dude, when you read our news, like, when other people, I would assume, come to the United States after the pandemic, they're gonna be like, dude, it's just trash. And it's like, yeah, you have to define yourself with what you want to see. And I get the whole like confirmation bias issue. I just think that right now, that's sometimes the only way to stay sane, man. And that's the hard part.
With the confirmation bias?
Yeah, because like I
think that's how you go insane.
Have you ever noticed there are people that you bump into that just operate within the confines of like just what's around them or what's given to them? Like, I just watched news.
Perfect example.
I just watched this.
Perfect example. So there's two extremes. My example would be masks and then the riots going on. So one extreme is the people who are so fearful of going out and being social, whatever that, because of the COVID. Like, you have to wear a mask. If you don't go out with a mask, you're evil because you're spreading blah, blah, blah. Then I just had an experience at our friend's birthday party. She was fearful of going out and being social because of everything going on with the riots, blah, 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 that she was fearful that her car might get stolen or her rims, she's going to come back and see it on bricks or something like that. And I was just kind of like, you're actually afraid of that? I don't know. It's interesting.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
When you're in some kind of bubble, bias bubble, how you are afraid to navigate the world based off these views, and it's so.
But those people, when you interact with them, it's interesting because like there's so many of them.
Yes.
And so like there's not many people. Like, it's almost refreshing when you bump into somebody and they're actually I don't want to say critical thinking and overuse the words,
but
but
just
they're
critical,
actual,
period.
like critical of things,
Yeah.
period. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like it's like, what do you do with the rest of your day? Like, do you not think into things? And so like to Doc's point, those people need that because they honestly just they've made their world to a point where they actually can't deal.
But I don't see how that goes to what Doc's saying, which was it keeps them
confirmation
sane.
bias.
But how does that keep them sane? I don't understand that. I feel like
whatever,
that makes them insane.
But whatever their level of sanity is. So if I just value bubblegum and
that was weird. Go on.
If I just value bubblegum and balloons, and somebody gives me $1 million bubblegum and piece of bubblegum and balloons, in reality, I don't still have a place to go. I don't have nothing to live.
Nothing's really changed.
But I can be happy with it because I value it. You know what I'm saying? And so like we just have a lot of people that we've created so many different bubbles, and none of those bubbles are actually okay with they're okay with tapping against each other, but they're not okay with merging or interacting for real. So it's like they only interact with the confirmation bias, the people that are like them. And there's enough people that think like me that I don't have to understand where you're coming from.
I don't like that. Those people fear. I don't like
that's
those people.
That's where
me.
we are. And it's
weird.
horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible because, like, for example, I'll be at work, right? And somebody will go on a rant about Trump, and I'll be agreeing. And then he'll say something that's too far. I'll be like, bro, that you can't tell me, like, come on, my dog. Like, you're making me defend people. Like, come on, my dude. That's not you. And you know, if you came to all those other conclusions correctly, you just refuse to accept this.
It's like he says something that was like really profound, and you're like, yeah, that's good. And then he just says, yeah, bitches.
Yeah.
And you're just like, dude, like
what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
All you need to do is put the chair on top of the sundae, and you drop the sundae.
That's it.
Like what the fuck, man?
And then, but that's when people, they dig into, like, what we're talking about our friend. I was like, that person digs into a point emotionally, so they actually have no space to retreat. And the space to retreat is information. The space to retreat is accountability. The space to retreat is actually accepting there's a different truth out there. Or there's more picture to what you're looking at. And so when you dig in,
picture to what you're looking at.
But when you dig in emotionally, you can't pivot because you have to justify the emotions that got you there. And so all these people they're dug in. And literally, if they accept that one thing, it breaks down their frame of thinking. Because, like,
or it discredits their emotions.
Yeah, but that's a foundational piece.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, well, then what the fuck else have I? And I don't feel like finding out what the fuck else I've been ignorant about. Yeah, like it's like Jenga. Absolutely. And I don't think nobody really wants to break themselves down to a point where they're like, wow, I've either been ignorant or wrong of this, and do the work that understanding takes.
See, I do the opposite, where it's just like I'm pretty open to a lot of things, to the point where I've fucked up a lot, and I'm just like, I should actually really close up on some things and not do all
100%. 100%. I'll play devil's advocate.
Put my foot in my mouth a lot.
I'll play devil's advocate and then play devil's advocate to that advocate just to do it. I don't know why. It's just I've always second guessed myself. I mean, you could talk about self-esteem.
So I got a question I want to put to y'all, and it just popped in my mind, so I'm not sure how to properly word this question, but it's about the emotions thing and people wanting their emotions to be, what was it, recognized?
Mm-hmm. Justified. So my question is, when it comes to conversations or anything generally speaking, do we have to justify people's emotions? Is it their responsibility? Is it our responsibility? It's their responsibility.
Is their responsibility, period?
It's their responsibility, but within reason. And the reason is what I can ask you to accept without logic. So, like, what I'm asking you to accept without actual logic is the balance between how much emotion I can feel I have to justify. So if I'm angry about something, you're like, why are you so angry about it? I have to justify my anger to you to explain why I'm so angry about it, right? Mm-hmm. But the level where it stops is where you're saying it's too much. And so I have to close that gap by the emotion is the me trying to close that gap is what I'm saying. Like, it's not logical. It doesn't make sense. It's just something people do.
I guess that's my disconnect, because Doc even mentioned this in a previous podcast where it's too much logic.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I don't like any kind of emotion in a conversation. And if there is emotion leaked in the conversation, for me, I guess, on a digestible level, it's got to be minimal. Otherwise, it gets, in my perspective, diluted. Your point, your goal, whatever you're trying, it gets diluted now. Because now you want me to accept something that I might not accept in a logical manner, just because it resonates with you on an emotional level that it might not resonate with me on an emotional level.
I know where we disconnect on that now, because I agree with you 100%. But what I would add is, I don't like when we take emotion out of something when emotion was in the conversation before it.
That makes sense, obviously.
No, but I'm saying literally. So, for example, like when we talk about race or stuff like that, right? Like, we have to use logic when we're talking about the cases and da-da-da-da-da. But racism and hating somebody because of their skin color is more of an emotional type of thing. And so there was no logic in racism. But so when we're applying logic to the conversation now, the conversation that predated it had no logic, and it was all emotional, and it was just accepted. Whereas now, so that's why I always say, why now? That's that. Why now? Why do we care now?
I don't know what that is. So, I guess, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I do kind of get annoyed when you say that "why now" thing, because I've been on this earth that long, and I'm finally getting to the point where I can feel comfortably and confidently address this stuff. So for me, when you say "why now," it's like, well, I haven't been here that long.
I'm not talking to you,
I know,
though.
but it's weird, and I guess that's why I always push back and like, well, then when?
It has to happen. But I'm saying, so when you're saying when, I guess the question would be, when do we finally apply the logic?
Anything.
Correct.
Have the conversation, apply the logic,
Okay, but then we can't go from black to white. There has to be a gray. So where that gray is the acceptance of somebody else's emotions. That's that gap I'm talking about. Due to the conversation. Not all of the emotion, but some of it.
Some kind of acknowledgement.
Boom. That's it. I
think the acknowledgement, is the key to it. Because sometimes... Well, it's extremely insulting when you see somebody mad and you're just like, dude, get over it. And it's just like, what? But then...
you're absolutely right.
But I think it's also the same thing where, like, when somebody looks like an idiot and you're just like, hey, man, you feel good, though? Like...
Yeah.
I mean, it felt good, right? I mean, you're stupid. You look stupid. But it felt fun while we were doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's just like, oh... That's kind of the key issue to it.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why when he was saying like who has to justify the emotion, it's absolutely on the person who has the emotion to justify the emotion. But that justification is like, for example, like I said, if I get too angry, now I'm realizing if at any moment when I'm talking and you're saying, hey John, you got too angry, I'm at a loss for words to explain why I got that angry. I should be able to tell you within words why I'm this level of angry. The second I don't have words to justify that level of anger, I was too angry. He stepped on your shoe. John, why is he shot here? You shot him, John? He stepped on my shoe. But you don't get it. There were limited editions. Okay, I get it a little bit more, but you shot him? There's still no justification in my reaction, my emotion level, and anything. I just want you to accept what I value. That's selfish.
And I don't want to tie it back to this, but that's why I have an issue with that phrase, perspective is reality. Because the phrase itself isn't wrong. It's just how it's being applied, because it's being used to justify people's perspectives.
It's ignoring what reality is.
While ignoring what reality really is.
Well, I think it's... I never thought about it, but you're right. It almost takes away the responsibility of existing. Because you're just
exactly.
like...
Exactly.
It 100% takes it.
My perspective, whatever.
Yeah, it happened, but that's not what I perceive. Man, the second... And you know what's crazy? We said it one day. The next day, we heard it back and immediately disagreed. Was it acid?
I'm not sure what you're referencing.
Was it acid when we had the came to the conclusion?
Or the
perception is reality when we.
No, it wasn't the acid. It was a conversation.
It was that day. Was I was asking.
Yeah, it was that day then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It was the remnants of it.
The vestiges.
I think it's both, but you kind of have to make like you got to make a hard choice though, man, because you can create your own perspective into your own reality. You can go into a box and never come out. You can do whatever, like, you know what I mean, and just be like, well, I'm this thing, and it's just like, cool, whatever.
But it's only real if your environment reacts to you as the thing that you're putting out.
Exactly.
That you are.
Like I always say,
I say I'm Michael Jordan and I walk onto the court and nobody greets me like I'm Michael Jordan, guess what? I might not be MJ.
Or something not even as dramatic as that. Something as simple as I'm the best of all time at basketball. And then you go out on the court and get schooled by some random person.
It doesn't even matter if you are. And nobody's ever seen it. We don't know you.
Yeah. Prove it.
It's not our reality. It's not real. It becomes reality once you prove it.
It's been tested.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the hard part of it, though. Like, so, like, people will appreciate a humble reality.
We're hashing this conversation all over again.
But, well, because, like, people will appreciate a humble reality, though. People will be like, I'm good at this. Like, even if they suck, they'll be like, you know what, man, you're still good. Like, try again. Keep going. Like, keep trying.
That group you're talking about is getting smaller by the day.
Yeah.
But at some point, like, they have to establish it in their mind that they are this. Whether or not, if they go to say, I'm the best, and then it's like, well, that's different. But, like, we're willing to let people have a humble perspective. And so that's kind of a debate.
I get what you're saying. Like, when somebody says I'm the best, but it's just comparative to, like, what I guess they're around. Mm-hmm. So, like, they still have the ego of the greatest of all time, but it's comparative to what they're around. Mm-hmm. And they are aware that they're not the greatest of all time, but isn't that wickedness? Isn't that evil? Let me hear. So you know you're not the GOAT. You know you're not the best. But just because you better than everybody around you, acting like hot shit.
That usually does step on a lot of toes. I would believe that to be
insulting.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it. Yeah, it's to me, it's coming from that fake it till you make it mentality, though.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
I do believe though that like if you imagine yourself as something, then you can become that thing, or eventually will be that thing.
But it's got to be but even it goes back to what you said. But it has to be a humble thinking or a humble view of yourself.
Fake it till you make it. You're ready to dissect that. If you're faking
it till you're making it, but what you're faking is something out as grand as being Michael Jordan, as John said, you're not gonna make it. It's not a humble perspective. But if it's gonna be something as humble as I just want to be the best at my college. Mm-hmm. Boom, you can do that. And then suddenly it's like, I did it. Well, now I'm going to go to the NBA. I'm going to be the best at the NBA. It's got to be a humble, like you said, dog. I think like that.
I think fake it till you make it. I think everybody that's saying it like that is fucking reading it wrong. I think the fake it part wasn't the work. The fake it part was the conclusion. So the faking part is I've already made it. Okay? So let's say I want to be a rapper, I want to be a basketball player. Mentally, when I walk on the court, the way I present myself
is the best of all time.
Is the like I already made it. Okay. It's not talking about saying I'm the best or being cocky. It's just literally when I present myself, yes, I'm the best. The work was never implied to be faked.
Gotcha.
And that's what people that's where people get stuck at. Fake it, and then you have to do the work till you make it. How you gonna make it? You just gonna fake it and it's gonna fall out the sky? You got to do the work till you make it. And so they just put the whole fake with the work too. Just throw everything in fake. Fake work, fake this, and then shit. As long as I post it on my Instagram, it's real. No, it was fake it till you make it. When you do that work, the conclusion will arrive, and then you'll look like what you're presenting yourself as. You'll be that thing. If I want to be the best rapper alive, I present myself as the best rapper alive.
While putting in the work to be the best rapper
alive. And
I'm
writing every day, nonstop. I'm doing what it takes. You know what I'm saying? And then if my metal is tested, I have the skill or whatever it is to back it up because I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
It's not really fake. The conclusion maybe or the aesthetic of it.
Yeah. I guess to close it out here, I guess this is my issue with everything. Like to tie it all back to the Grammys thing, then to the Washington Post thing, and then now to this conversation we had about discussions and being what was the sentiment I said? I forgot.
Fake it till you make it?
No, not that, but basically we'll just go with that. I just feel like we're just becoming so fake. I don't want to say the entire world, but at least within our society in America, like we're just becoming so fake. I really don't feel like we have any genuine people anymore. No one's genuine anymore.
At all.
Like, please tell me I'm wrong and I'm being cynical.
No.
I think on the
Gene, you're just a
mainstream,
cynical
though,
prick.
and so the reason why I say that, I think on the mainstream, is because reactionary internet is so popular now. It's starting to grow and trend. Like, people will watch videos of people reacting because they're just like chasing something genuine.
Dude, that's how dude, what you just said is so fucking crazy. Like,
I was hoping y'all would tell me I was crazy.
No. What he said is true, dude. Reaction videos are going up. And it's because, like, even with kids, you're seeing kids watch Twitch more than playing the game themselves and all that type of stuff. It's because people honestly feel I don't want to see people society's lost self-esteem, but people just rather see other people do the work.
I think they have lost the self-esteem, man. Like,
I can't do this. I'm just gonna watch somebody else do it. Fuck it.
Yeah, dude. I get on Instagram and I see so much pessimism everywhere. There's still people who are like, yeah, you got it, you're doing the best and stuff like that. It's just like, it's so stark, the differences between it. Most people are just complaining most of the time on social media, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, dude, also, this is it's a valuable tool. I mean, you can become famous on it, but if you stay in it long enough, it's just a sea of negativity, and it's just like intense, man.
And it's made success black and white too.
Yeah.
And that's I think one of the biggest problems that's leading to everybody thinking like that. It's like, if I don't have $1 million, I'm not successful. And then, like, there's no in between. There's no comfortability, and like, I can't be an okay guy working an okay job or doing a good job.
Or for girls, if I don't look
do
a certain way, I'm not beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all these standards for guys and girls. It's ridiculous.
Black and white's extreme.
Yeah.
And if you are, you better have a fire fucking Instagram that says you live a different life at night. But
and it gives you so few opportunities to actually be happy, though. Like, you're literally narrowing your chances down.
I also think it's generating an extreme amount of like negativity towards being your country's citizen. At least for the United States, like, I interact with a lot of people, and everyone's like, man, it sucks to be an American right now. It sucks to be an American. And I'm like, dude, I'm literally able to survive a pandemic by working at home. Like, what are you talking about? Dude, if I was an American in 1918, dude, I would have died. Like, I would have come back from World War I, dude. Like,
no arm,
like, waiting for
even though it's
Spanish
annoying
flu,
what's going on here in America, I'm still happy to be an American.
About, dude? And you know who doesn't do that? The funniest shit? Immigrants. Immigrants like, fuck you talking about? Pandemic?
Oh, yeah. Okay,
this is Tuesday. This is Tuesday in my home country. I'm lucky my head didn't get cut off. Y'all talking about everybody's working from home. And then guess what? You all get free money. Y'all all get money put into your bank accounts.
Stimulus.
And I won't even start.
I was about to say,
I won't even start.
Let's close
but
it here,
immigrants are not like that.
Conversation we could go into here.
Oh my goodness.
All right, I think that's enough fake deep thinking for today, guys. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Podcast
Food stamps,
FDT.
free food.
Make sure you follow our YouTube channel, Fake Deep Thinking. Make sure you give a like, a comment, and a share. See you next time on Fake Deep Thinking.
Didn't they stop people from evicting you?
Dude, peace.
They stopped people from evicting you.